This is an old-time corn sheller that I'm using to shell popcorn. Obviously, I've got a lot of popcorn there. Last year, I hand shelled the popcorn, which was a lot of work. It took a long time. So this machine is a massive upgrade to that process, which took many hours over many weeknights and Saturdays just to shell 1,000 pounds of popcorn. But I bought this off Facebook Marketplace. It was listed as an International Harvester brand. Don't know how he knew that, except the old timer I bought it from, he had it for 40 years, so he must have just known. But it's the right color, so let's say it is. And I imagine at one time this had a hand crank on it, but when I got it, it had been modified with this motor, and it was bolted, that motor was bolted onto this piece here, and this rubber wheel was on this motor, and it was hanging out right about here. So it must have been belt driven and off that rubber wheel. Well, I didn't know what belt to get. I didn't want to mess with a big belt. Looked online, big belts like that seemed expensive, didn't know what size, so I decided to take a different approach. So I built this pedestal here. I took the rubber wheel off of this old motor, put it on a new motor. Why the new motor? This one was easily reversible, the direction. This is a very nice motor, actually. Old, but industrial, and has some nice safety features and such. But then I built this pedestal, and this pedestal here, and then attached it, and then made a hinge out of some 3/8 inch pipe. See that, with a rod running through it. And then a plate here, which happens to be corrugated because that's what I had laying around. And then I bolted the motor to that. And then I, with a couple nuts that I welded here, ran these bolts through so that I can adjust, put upward pressure on this plate, and then tension it to run this pulley tight against that flywheel. So it actually works very well. Let me show you. Flip it on. This motor has a high and low speed. I run it on slow, and we'll flip it on. There it is. So if you're not familiar with an old corn sheller, I'll just show you briefly how it works. Ear goes down in here. Now this is a spring adjustable size adjustment. So popcorn's a relatively small, slender ear. So I had to adjust this bolt, push it out, make a more narrow gap to give a tighter feed. The sheller turns. This main gear pulls the ear down, and then this shelling wheel with the spikes on it turns in the opposite direction and pulls the grain off. And as it goes, the ear takes a rotating motion. So as the ear rotates through, these spikes shell all the grain off. Grain falls down below. Now this one has a fan that's driven actually by an old piece of string, same piece of string that came on it, and that fan will blow chaff out somewhat. And then the cob comes, as this, again, this wheel rotates, the cob gets pushed up and out of this hole, and then falls into a cob bin. The grain falls down under here this bin. So I will run it now and show you how that works.